Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about my WhatsApp tunnel proxy. You're thinking, what is this? Essentially, it's a way to send your internet traffic over a WhatsApp tunnel. Like, you might have heard of ICMP tunnels, you might have heard of you've heard of proxying network traffic, like using HTTP proxies. You can send them over like ICMP tunnels or GRE tunnels. This is essentially a tunnel for WhatsApp. It allows you to send, actually, realistically, anything. In this example, we're going to be using HTTP, so that you could use web traffic, but you could send like an SSH connection over this, realistically, whatever you wanted. Pre-requirements of this, you do need to have 2 WhatsApp accounts. I would personally recommend that neither of them are yours, as there is a likelihood your account could get banned. If that happens, not my fault. But yeah, I'll explain to you a bit. I'll demonstrate it first, and then I'll explain to you how it works. So, if we over here, if I do like an ifconfig, you're aware of ifconfig.me, it gives me back my public IP address. That's my public IP address. On the server, I've got this server component. This is in the WA tunnel main, which has the WhatsApp tunnel main proxy, and I'm running the server script. I'm passing in the host and the port of the service I want to expose on the other end. So this is a HTTP proxy, and then I'm giving it my phone, the phone number of the client. So the client has one number, so it's number A, and the server they need to know about each other. Essentially, they need each other's. So the account that this is logged into a WhatsApp account, and I'm giving it the other WhatsApp account's number. I'm just blurring that out for you so you guys don't see it. It just says my server phone number. When I start this, it'll do like a connection update. It'll check it's connected. That's all working. On the client, I do the same, and I give it the server's phone number, and it's now connected. It says it's open online, connection status true. If I now do this again, but I'm using curl, I'm using a different IP thingy, but that doesn't matter. But I've passed in the proxy settings of my local computer and the port of 8080, which is the port I set here. I'm also using a time, so I'm going to time this, because as you'll see, it's quite slow, but quick, if that makes sense. So we're now actively sending traffic, so we've created a socket, we're sending traffic on the socket, we're receiving socket traffic, we're doing the two-way handshake, the request is completely sent off, and then it's come back. It took 12 seconds. Fucking thinking. To do a simple, like, if I did the time on this, 0.1 seconds. There's a massive buffer. But I've optimized this for video downloads and large file downloads, because actually, once you've started the TLS, the traffic's just coming. Like, it's the initial connections that slow it down. But once the connection's happening, the data flow is good. So if you're watching like YouTube, it takes a minute, but then it's good. Let me explain to you what you've seen here. You've seen that it's connected to the server and that the server is running on the port you specified. Then you see this socket. This specifies the socket number. Let me highlight it. That's the socket number. That's not relevant, but it's relevant for how it communicates which connection it's talking about. So it's got a connection on that socket. It's active. It's sending. It's receiving. It's processing. It's receiving. It's buffering. It's sending. So it's doing these two-way handshakes for all the steps of the HTTP request. If you're familiar with that, you're familiar with that. But yeah, each of those is getting sent as a message on WhatsApp, as if you opened the app and you typed it in with data. I can't show you that as I don't have either of the phones around me. But trust me, that's how it's working. Let's look at some code. You can also send it via a file. Just check I'm still recording. You can also send a file. So there's this value called chunk size, which is set to 50 kilobytes by default. Anything greater than 80, you get some crashes. Anything less than 20, you get rate limited by WhatsApp. So about 50 kilobytes a second. 50 kilobytes is about right. Essentially, that's the limit. So you're essentially doing 50 kilobytes a second. But you're actually not. You're doing way more. this is what we break down whether we're going to send it as a file or a text message. Anything less than 50 gets sent as just raw data in a text file. Just get a text notification that just got some data in it. You don't need to understand it, the computers understand it. The send delay is something else that exists. This is the delay on how long the traffic waits. So we're packaging up sections and blocks of data on in each socket and then sending them over as mass notifications. This is just so that we don't send loads of small notifications, small texts, and send them all as big chunks. You can play around with this as you like. I've found that 1.2 seconds is about good for YouTube. Less is quicker, and so is a smaller chunk size, but it comes at the risk of more messages, more issues, etc. Let's look at the client, and I'll explain it to you. Sorry, where was I? Yeah, so the client's got some dependencies. I got distracted there. But that's not really important. There's a lot of node dependencies. There's a lot of stuff. The main one is this Bazeley, however you say it. This is actually what does the WhatsApp communication. So this talks to the WhatsApp servers. Other than that, most of these are just things that are handling other stuff like that. Like talking to the WhatsApp, parsing the data. Stuff like that. I don't get involved with that. I've written quite a basic overlaying script. So we're looking at the client. So essentially the client takes in some arguments. The local port, the phone number, the server's WhatsApp number, and then an option to disable the files. So if for some reason file sending is not available, you could just literally disable it using a one-line command. By default, the host that exposes the port for everybody. Of course, you could change this. But essentially, we're exposing that port from this computer, wherever this computer be. And then on the other side, it's just proxying it in. This is just a socket connection, and literally traffic in, traffic out, traffic in, traffic out. I've probably gone out. So traffic in, traffic out. Like, it don't matter what the traffic is. It's just sending it around. Yeah. What else? So let me explain to you this. So this is sending. Let me look at this. Let's look at the socket. This is what sends the data over WhatsApp. This function and this function. This sends a file. So if the chunk size is, if the compressed data is greater than the chunk size, and files are not disabled, send a file. If they are, then if the compressed data is less than the chunk size, send a text message instead. Text messages are quicker, whereas the file has to be uploaded, downloaded. Text messages are quicker. But either way, it works not too bad. I've been trying to optimize this. That's why this second function. But yeah, it's quite quick. Like it's slow. Don't get me wrong, it's slow. But in terms of how it works, it's quite clever. It's essentially putting your entire network layer on another network layer. The server takes in the local port, the client number, and it should take in a proxy host. It takes in a host, a port, whatever. I'm not sure what's going on here with this. But yeah, and then this essentially does the same thing. So on the receiving the inbound data, it checks if it's cached. If it's not cached, we cache it, and then we set to make sure that the network traffic is still Sorry, what am I saying? That makes sure that we're packaging up the data and we're sending it in chunks, and we're not just sending it all in one go. You could change that or potentially get rid of that, but then we're just closing the socket if it's done. Stuff like that. The code is actually pretty simple. There's some logging and there's some other stuff, but there's like 3 core files. Anything you want to change is here. That's what I'd change. Change this, that's it. This delimiter is just how we know different chunks apart. Yeah, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Hope this has been interesting. If there's any other tech videos you'd like me to do, let me know. I'd be more interested. I could do a video about the proxy that this is communicating with. It's all custom code. I like to write a lot of applications and stuff like that. I don't really know what I'm doing yet on YouTube. I'm sort of just putting shit out there. Mainly more text shit. And some lighting stuff. But yeah, thank you. Bye.